Welcome to Cora Stories Live. Tonight, settle in, get comfortable, and make yourself at home. Whether you are listening from morning light, late evening, or somewhere deep in the quiet hours of night, I am grateful you are here. In the comments, tell us where you are listening from tonight. City, state, or country. I would love to know where this story is finding you. Now take a breath, relax, and let the story begin. Welcome to Cora Stories Live. Tonight, settle in, get comfortable, and make yourself at home. Whether you are listening from morning light, late evening, or somewhere deep in the quiet hours of night, I am grateful you are here. In the comments, tell us where you are listening from tonight. City, state, or country. I would love to know where this story is finding you. Now take a breath, relax, and let the story begin. Welcome to Cora Stories Live. Tonight, settle in, get comfortable, and make yourself at home. Whether you are listening from morning light, late evening, or somewhere deep in the quiet hours of night, I am grateful you are here. In the comments, tell us where you are listening from tonight. City, state, or country. I would love to know where this story is finding you. Now take a breath, relax, and let the story begin. Welcome to Cora Stories Live. Tonight, settle in, get comfortable, and make yourself at home. Whether you are listening from morning light, late evening, or somewhere deep in the quiet hours of night, I am grateful you are here. In the comments, tell us where you are listening from tonight. City, state, or country. I would love to know where this story is finding you. Now take a breath, relax, and let the story begin. Welcome to Cora Stories Live. Tonight, settle in, get comfortable, and make yourself at home. Whether you are listening from morning light, late evening, or somewhere deep in the quiet hours of night, I am grateful you are here. In the comments, tell us where you are listening from tonight. City, state, or country. I would love to know where this story is finding you. Now take a breath, relax, and let the story begin. Welcome to Cora Stories Live. Tonight, settle in, get comfortable, and make yourself at home. Whether you are listening from morning light, late evening, or somewhere deep in the quiet hours of night, I am grateful you are here. In the comments, tell us where you are listening from tonight. City, state, or country. I would love to know where this story is finding you. Now take a breath, relax, and let the story begin. Welcome to Cora Stories Live. Tonight, settle in, get comfortable, and make yourself at home. Whether you are listening from morning light, late evening, or somewhere deep in the quiet hours of night, I am grateful you are here. In the comments, tell us where you are listening from tonight. City, state, or country. I would love to know where this story is finding you. Now take a breath, relax, and let the story begin. Welcome to Cora Stories Live. Tonight, settle in, get comfortable, and make yourself at home. Whether you are listening from morning light, late evening, or somewhere deep in the quiet hours of night, I am grateful you are here. In the comments, tell us where you are listening from tonight. City, state, or country. I would love to know where this story is finding you. Now take a breath, relax, and let the story begin.
The first time my husband left me, I was carrying 2 newborn babies into our home. The second time he left us happened slowly. 1 missed school payment, 1 unanswered phone call, 1 birthday forgotten, 1 promise broken after another. By the time I understood the difference, 34 years had passed, and Victor Bennett was standing on my front porch again. I almost did not recognize him. The man I remembered had been broad-shouldered and proud, the kind of man who entered a room as though he expected people to notice. The man outside my door looked smaller, not short, reduced. Age had thinned his face and bent something in his posture. His hair, once dark and carefully trimmed, was almost completely gray. A brown jacket hung loosely from his shoulders, and one hand rested on the handle of a small travel bag. For several seconds, neither of us spoke. Then he said my name. Amara. There are voices the body remembers long after the heart stops waiting for them. His was one of those voices. I kept one hand on the door. Victor? A faint smile touched his mouth. Hello, Amara! Behind me, my house was alive. Someone laughed in the kitchen. A child shouted from the family room. Another voice called, Grandma! Victor's eyes moved toward the sound. He looked older than I ever imagined he would. Smaller, too. Not in height. In certainty, Grandma? He repeated. I kept one hand on the door. Yes, his throat moved. How many grandchildren do you have? I looked at him for a long moment. 34 years had passed, and still he stood there, asking questions about a family he had chosen not to know. You do not get to ask me that yet. Pain flickered across his face. I came a long way, Amara. That was your choice. I know. Do you? From inside the house, another child called for me. Victor looked past me again. Are the girls here? Girls, my daughters were grown women now, but to him, perhaps they had remained frozen at the ages he left them. Naomi at 6, Lydia at 4, Maya and Mara only 4 days old. I studied his face. You do not get to ask that either. He lowered his eyes. I am sorry. I looked at him. 34 years collapsed into 3 small words. A mistake can be covered by 3 words. A forgotten appointment. A careless insult. A door slammed in anger. But some decisions grow roots. They enter childhoods, birthdays, graduations, empty chairs at weddings. They appear in the questions children ask when they are too young to understand why a parent chose not to stay. Victor had not made one mistake. He had made a decision, then another, then another. For 34 years. I looked at the old man standing on my porch. You should go, please. I said go. Just tell them I came. My fingers tightened around the door. No, Amara! You do not get to arrive after 34 years and make me your messenger. He stared at me. If you want to understand why Victor, then start by remembering the day you left. I closed the door for a moment. I stood in the hallway with my hand still wrapped around the handle. Behind me, the house had gone quiet. When I turned, 4 women were looking at me, my daughters, Naomi, Lydia, Maya, Mara. And from the expression on Naomi's face, I knew immediately she had recognized his voice. 34 years later, she still remembered. Before I tell you what happened after Victor returned, I need to take you back to the day he left, because men do not usually abandon 4 daughters in a single moment. First, they build a story inside themselves. Then they repeat that story until cruelty begins to sound reasonable.
Cora Stories.
We'll come back to Cora Story.
Before we continue, tell me where you are watching from today and what time it is where you are. I always love seeing how far our Cora Stories family reaches. And I want to ask you something. If a parent deliberately stayed away for 34 years, would you hear them out when they returned? Or would you believe some choices cannot be undone, simply because the person who made them finally regrets the consequences? If stories about family, sacrifice, hidden wounds, and the decisions that shape generations mean something to you, you are always welcome to subscribe and become part of our growing community. Now, let me take you back. I was 22 when I met Victor Bennett. He was 26, and if you had asked me then what I loved most about him, I would have said his certainty. Victor always seemed sure. Sure about where he was going. Sure about what he wanted. Sure that if life put a wall in front of him, the wall had made a mistake. I mistook that certainty for strength. My mother did not. 3 weeks before our wedding, she sat across from me at the dining table while I addressed invitations. "Does he listen to you?" I looked up. "What kind of question is that?" "A simple one. Of course he listens to me." My mother adjusted one of the envelopes I had stacked crookedly. "Listening is not the same as waiting for your turn to speak." I laughed. "Mom, I am asking," and I answered. She studied me. I knew that look. "What? Nothing. That face is never nothing." She smiled and reached for another envelope. "I just want you to marry a man who understands that another human being is not an extension of him." At 22, I thought my mother was being philosophical. Years later, I would remember every word. Victor and I married the following month. Our first years were happy. I will not rewrite the past to make the future easier to explain. Victor made me laugh. He called from work to ask whether I needed anything from the store. On Saturday mornings, he played music too loudly while washing the car. He kissed my forehead when he thought I was asleep. When I became pregnant with our first child, he lifted me off the kitchen floor and turned in a circle until I screamed at him to put me down. "We are having a baby!" "I know." "A baby, Amara." "Yes, Victor, that is generally what pregnancy means." He laughed and pressed both hands against my stomach, even though there was nothing to feel yet. "My son is in there!" I smiled. "Or your daughter." He looked up at me. "First one can be anything." The sentence passed quickly, too quickly for me to understand it. First one can be anything. Naomi was born on a rainy Thursday morning. Victor cried when he held her. "I need that understood," he cried. He counted her fingers. He kissed the top of her head. He walked around the hospital room telling anyone who entered that she had my nose. For the first year of Naomi's life, I had no reason to believe my husband could ever reject a daughter. The first cracks did not begin with Victor. They began with questions. "When are you giving him his boy? Victor needs somebody to carry the name. Do not wait too long." At family gatherings, at church, at work functions, even strangers seemed comfortable discussing the contents of my uterus once they saw a baby girl in my arms. Victor usually laughed, "Soon." I would correct him. Maybe he would smile, "Soon." 2 years later, I became pregnant again. This time, Victor talked about a son constantly. He bought a tiny football before we knew anything about the baby. One evening, I found him standing in the spare room, tossing it from hand to hand. "My boy is going to have a strong arm." I folded baby clothes on the bed. "And if it is another girl," he caught the ball. "Then we try again." Something in his voice made me look at him. He smiled. I smiled back. Lydia was born healthy, 7 pounds, dark hair, eyes that seemed to study everything. Victor held her. He kissed her, but he did not cry. I noticed. I hated myself for noticing. His mother visited the next afternoon. She looked into the bassinet. "Another girl." Victor stood near the window. His mother laughed. "Well, Amara, you had better get it right next time." I waited for my husband to defend me. He looked outside. That was all. On the drive home from the hospital, I sat in the back with Lydia. Naomi was with my mother. Victor drove. I watched the side of his face. "Why did you let your mother say that?" "Say what?" "You heard her," she was joking. "It was not funny." "Amara, you just had a baby. Do not start an argument." I looked down at Lydia. She was asleep against my chest. "Get what right next time." Victor exhaled. "Please. No, tell me." He tightened his grip on the steering wheel. "My mother wants a grandson, and nothing. You want one too. Most men want sons." "That is not what I asked." He glanced at me in the mirror. "Of course I want a son." I waited. He looked back at the road. "But I love Lydia." At the time, I accepted that answer. Years later, I understood the problem. I had asked whether my daughter was enough. Victor had answered a different question. For the next 2 years, our life continued. Naomi followed Victor everywhere. Lydia followed Naomi. Our house was noisy, messy, alive. Naomi was serious even as a little girl. If I gave her 4 crackers and Lydia had 3, Naomi would break one in half. Lydia was different. She could turn anything into a game. A cardboard box became a bus. A wooden spoon became a microphone. One afternoon, I found both girls sitting beneath the dining table. "What are you doing?" Naomi looked up. "We live here now. Under my table." "Yes, may I ask why?" Lydia whispered loudly. "Because, Daddy said rent is expensive." I stared at them. Then I started laughing. Victor came in from the hallway. "What is happening?" I pointed beneath the table. "Your daughters have moved out," he crouched. "Without telling me?" Naomi nodded. "We cannot afford your house." Victor laughed so hard he had to sit on the floor. For a long time, that memory hurt me, because it proved something I did not want to admit. My daughters had not imagined their father. They had known him. They had loved him, and once he had loved being loved by them. Then I became pregnant for the 3rd time. Victor was ecstatic, not simply because I was pregnant, because he was convinced this child would be his son. When the doctor told us there were 2 babies, Victor stood so quickly that his chair scraped across the floor. "Twins?" the doctor smiled. "Twins?" Victor grabbed my hand. On the drive home, he called his brother, then his mother, then a friend. By dinner, he had already discussed boys' names. I sat across from him. "Victor," he looked up. "We do not know that they are boys." He smiled. "One of them has to be—" "No, come on, Amara. That is not how it works. 4 children. What are the chances?" "The same chances we had before." He leaned back. "I am getting my son." I remember the exact words. "I am getting my son, not, we are having 2 babies. Not, I hope they are healthy. I am getting my son." As the pregnancy progressed, Victor changed. At first, I blamed work. He came home later, took calls outside, began placing his phone face down. Sometimes I woke in the night and found his side of the bed empty. He would be in the living room, or the kitchen, or outside. "Who are you talking to?" "Work," at 1 in the morning. "Different time zone." I wanted to believe him. Pregnancy with twins was difficult. By the 7th month, everything hurt. My back, my hips, my feet. I was tired before I got out of bed. Naomi, only 6, started trying to help. One morning, I found her pouring cereal for Lydia. Half the cereal was on the counter. Milk ran down the cabinet. Naomi looked horrified when she saw me. I was helping. I leaned against the doorway. "I can see that." "Are you mad?" I looked at my 6-year-old daughter standing in a puddle of milk. "No, baby, I am not mad. Daddy gets mad when we spill." The sentence landed quietly. I reached for a towel. "Daddy is not here." She looked toward the front window. "He is always at work now." I stopped wiping. Children notice absence before adults are ready to name it. I forced a smile. "He has been busy," Naomi nodded. But she kept looking at me. A week later, Victor missed a prenatal appointment. Then another. When I confronted him, he became irritated. "I have a job." "You had a job when Naomi was born." "What does that mean?" "It means you used to come." He picked up his keys. "Do not do this." "Do what?" "Turn everything into a problem." I stared at him. "I am carrying 2 babies." "I know, do you?" He walked out. The twins arrived 3 weeks early. It was a Tuesday morning. Victor was not with me when labor started. My mother drove me to the hospital. I called him twice. No answer. My mother called him. No answer. Naomi and Lydia stayed with my sister. By the time Victor arrived, I was already frightened. The doctors were moving quickly. 2 babies. Early, small. I remember gripping Victor's hand. He stood beside me, but even then, something felt wrong. Maya was born first. Mara 11 minutes later. Two identical girls. Two beautiful, tiny girls. I cried when I heard them. Relief, fear, love, everything at once. Victor stood near the wall. A nurse smiled at him. "Dad, would you like to see your daughters?" He did not move immediately. The nurse looked at me, then back at him. "Victor?" He stepped forward. I watched his face. There are expressions you can spend years trying to explain away. Shock, exhaustion, fear, but I knew what I saw. Disappointment. He looked at the babies, then at me, 4. I was exhausted. "What?" He rubbed his face. 4 girls. The nurse lowered her eyes. I felt humiliation burn through me. "Victor," he said nothing. "Your daughters are healthy, I know. Then what is wrong with you?" "Not now." "No, tell me." He looked toward the nurse. "Amara, tell me." His jaw tightened. I said, "Not now." He left the room. I did not know then that another woman was already pregnant. Not far enough along for the world to see, but far enough that Victor knew. I did not know that while I had been carrying his twins, Victor had been building another life in secret. I did not know that somewhere across town, a woman named Celeste had been listening to him complain about the 4 daughters he never expected to have. All I knew was that my husband had looked at 2 living babies and seen the absence of a boy. The birth was harder than I admitted to anyone afterward. Maya came first. Mara followed 11 minutes later, but those 11 minutes felt longer than the entire pregnancy. By then, my body had almost nothing left to give. The room filled with voices I could not follow. A nurse kept telling me to stay with her. Someone adjusted something beside the bed. Another person moved toward the warmer where Maya had been taken. I remember asking only one question: "Is she breathing?" Nobody answered quickly enough. I tried to lift my head. "Is my baby breathing?" Then I heard her, small, angry, alive. I cried so hard I could barely understand the doctor telling me we still had another baby to deliver. Mara did not come easily. By the time she was born, I was shaking from exhaustion. There was tearing, more bleeding than the doctors wanted. Concern in voices people kept trying to make sound calm. Afterward, one of the nurses told me I needed to rest. Rest. I had 2 babies, who had arrived 3 weeks early. I had a 6-year-old waiting for me, a 4-year-old who had asked my mother 3 times whether the babies would know her when they came home, and a husband who had already begun disappearing from my life while I was still trying to convince myself he was only busy. So I did what mothers sometimes do when there is no room to fall apart. I pushed my own pain to the edge of the bed and asked about everyone else. "Where is Maya? She is being monitored. And Mara, she is right here. Can I see Maya? Amara, you need to rest. Can I see my baby?" The nurse looked at me for a moment. Then she helped me. The first time I stood, pain tore through me so sharply that my knees weakened. I grabbed the side of the bed. "Sit down!" "No, you nearly fell," I said. "I am fine." I was not fine. I could barely walk to the bathroom without holding on to something. Sitting hurt, standing hurt. My back felt as though someone had driven a wedge through it. My body was swollen, sore, depleted, and still trying to recover from carrying 2 babies at once. But Maya was down the hall, so I walked. Slowly, one hand against the wall, the other gripping the back of a wheelchair, I refused to sit in until the nurse finally stopped me. "You do not have to prove anything," she said. I looked at her. I am not proving anything, and I meant it. I was trying to reach my daughter. That was the difference. 4 days later, when they discharged us, I was still in pain. I simply had not yet learned that the worst pain waiting for me was standing beside a black suitcase in my own house. 4 days later, I brought Maya and Mara home. That was the day my marriage ended. My mother drove us home. Victor had not come to the hospital that morning. He said something had come up at work. By then, I had stopped asking what. The ride home was difficult. Every dip in the road seemed to find a place in my body that was already hurting. I sat carefully, because sitting normally was still painful. My abdomen cramped. My back ached. Even turning to check the babies required more effort than I wanted my mother to see, Maya cried. Almost the entire drive, Mara slept. My mother kept glancing at me. You all right? I am fine. You are holding your breath every time I hit a bump. I just had twins. That is exactly my point. When we reached the house, I opened the car door and tried to stand. Pain pulled through me so quickly that I stopped halfway. My mother was beside me immediately. Amara, I am fine. Stop saying that. I need to get the babies. You need to stand up without falling. I am not going to fall. She looked at me. I looked away. That was when Naomi and Lydia appeared at the front window. The moment they saw the car, they began jumping. My mother followed my eyes. Look at them! For one beautiful second, everything inside me softened. Naomi ran outside first. Mommy? Slow down, sweetheart. Can I hold one? Inside, which one is Maya? The one making sure the entire neighborhood knows she is home. Lydia reached the car and peered into Mara's carrier. This one is broken, my mother stared at her. Broken. She is not moving. She is sleeping. Lydia let out a tiny sigh of relief. Oh, she leaned closer until her nose was almost touching Mara's blanket. You scared me, baby sister. Then she smiled. I laughed. The laugh pulled at muscles that were still sore, and one hand went instinctively to my abdomen. My mother noticed. My mother reached for both carriers. I should be carrying them. Her expression softened. You carried them for months. I looked down. You brought them safely into this world, she said quietly. Let me carry them into the house. I wanted to argue. Then another wave of pain pulled through me. My hand tightened around the edge of the car door. My mother, Margaret Brooks, noticed before I said a word. She set both carriers carefully on the sidewalk. Then she came around to my side of the car. Easy, she said. She slipped one arm around my waist and helped me ease myself onto my feet. For a moment, neither of us moved. She watched my face. Are you steady? I nodded. It was not entirely true. She waited another second anyway. Only when she was sure I was balanced did she return to the babies. She picked up both carriers. Then she looked at Naomi, who was already standing beside us. Walk with your mother. Naomi nodded immediately. Without saying a word, she slipped her little hand into mine. I have you, Mommy? I looked down at our hands. Her fingers were so small, so certain. She believed they were enough to keep me from falling. My throat tightened. All right, I whispered. Margaret carried the babies toward the front door. Naomi stayed beside me. Lydia skipped ahead, announcing to anyone who would listen, the babies are home. Together, we made our way toward the house. One slow step at a time. I remember placing one hand against the frame as I entered. I remember thinking only about getting inside, getting the babies settled, feeding them, making sure Naomi and Lydia had eaten, finding somewhere to sit that did not hurt. Then I looked toward the staircase and saw Victor's suitcase, large, black, already packed. I stopped so suddenly that my mother nearly walked into me. She followed my eyes. What is it? I could not answer. I just kept staring at the suitcase. Naomi came in behind us. Daddy is going somewhere. My mouth went dry. How do you know? He packed. My mother's face changed immediately. She shifted both baby carriers farther away from the staircase. Take the girls into the living room, she said softly. Then she looked at me. Amara! I did not answer. My eyes never left the suitcase. I started toward the stairs. The first step pulled sharply through muscles that had barely begun to heal. Pain spread across my abdomen. I ignored it. Amara. My mother's voice was quiet now. Please do not do this standing. I kept climbing. Every part of me wanted to sit down. Instead, I climbed. Victor? No answer. Victor. He appeared at the top of the staircase, fully dressed. shoes on, car keys in one hand. For several seconds, we stared at each other. I pointed toward the suitcase. "What is that?" His eyes shifted briefly toward my mother. "We need to talk." My entire body went cold. "Not today, Victor," he said nothing. "Please!" I shook my head. "Not today!" He started down the stairs. Victor watched me gripping the banister for support. He saw the way I leaned against it. He saw how slowly I moved. He knew exactly what my body had endured 4 days earlier. He came down anyway. Naomi and Lydia stood silently near the living room. My mother drew the girls closer and gently rocked one of the babies as Maya's crying grew louder. A moment later, Mara answered her sister. The sound filled the house. Victor reached the bottom step. "I cannot do this anymore." I stared at him. "Do what?" He looked around the house. "This," a short laugh escaped me. It sounded nothing like laughter. "I just brought our daughters home." His eyes moved toward the babies. "I know." "Then what are you saying?" "I am saying I cannot keep pretending this is the life I wanted." My mother inhaled sharply. Behind me, Maya cried harder. Mara answered again. I looked at Victor. "You waited until today? I did not plan it like this." "You packed yesterday." He said nothing. I took one slow step closer. Pain shot through my abdomen so suddenly that I almost lost my balance. My hand found the banister again before I could stop it. "You packed while I was in the hospital." "Keep your voice down." I stared at him. Then I looked toward Naomi. She was watching us. 6 years old, bare feet, one hand wrapped around the hem of her shirt. I lowered my voice. "Where are you going?" "I have somewhere to stay." "Where?" "That does not matter. It matters to me." "Amara! Where are you going?" His face hardened. "I said it does not matter." I understood then that there was something else. I did not know what, but I knew. "Is there another woman?" His eyes shifted. "Barely. Enough." My heart started pounding. "Victor? Not in front of the children? Is there another woman?" Naomi looked from him to me. My mother stepped closer to the girls. "Come with Grandma, sweetheart." Naomi did not move. Victor reached for the suitcase. Without thinking, I stepped into the narrow space between him and the front door. It was not much of a barrier. I knew that. So did he. But I could not simply stand aside and watch him walk out. "Answer me. Move. Amara." "Answer me." His voice hardened. "Move, Daddy." Naomi's voice stopped both of us. Victor turned. She looked at the suitcase. "Where are you going?" His entire face changed. For one moment, I saw the father he had been. He crouched. "Come here." Naomi did not move. "Are you going to work?" "No." "Then where?" Victor opened his mouth. Nothing came. Lydia walked toward him. "Can I come?" I closed my eyes. Victor looked at her. "No, sweetheart." "Why?" "Because—" He stopped. Lydia frowned. "Because why?" Victor stood. "I will come see you." Naomi looked at him. "When? Soon?" "When is soon?" He picked up the suitcase. I watched my 6-year-old daughter waiting for an answer. Victor could not give one. He walked toward the door. I followed him. "You are leaving 4 children." He stopped. "I will help." "With what?" "Money, whatever they need." "You have 2 newborn babies." "I know, do you?" He turned. I said, "I will help." "Look at them." His jaw tightened. "No, look at your daughters before you leave." He glanced toward the living room. "Naomi 6, Lydia 4. Maya and Mara, 4 days old. Look at them." He did. Then he opened the door. Naomi began crying. Not loudly, that made it worse. "Daddy!" Victor stopped. She ran toward him. He put down the suitcase and hugged her. I watched his eyes close. For 1 second, I thought he had changed his mind. Then he released her, picked up the suitcase, and left. The door closed. Naomi stood there, waiting. I do not know how long. Finally, she looked at me. Did Daddy leave because the babies are girls? My mother made a sound behind me. I could not speak. Naomi wiped her face. I heard him. My knees nearly gave way. He said he did not want this life. I crouched in front of her. No, but he wanted a boy. Naomi, he said it. I held her shoulders. Listen to me. Her face crumpled. Did we do something? No. Then why did he go? There are questions mothers cannot answer without breaking something in their children. So sometimes we lie, not because we are dishonest, because the truth is too heavy for small hands. Daddy is confused. Naomi looked at me. About what? I swallowed. About himself. That night, all 4 girls slept in my room, the twins in their bassinets, Lydia sideways across the bottom of the bed. Naomi beside me. At 2 a.m, I realized she was awake. Mommy? Yes? Is Daddy coming tomorrow? I stared into the darkness. I do not know. Can you call him? I will try. She was quiet. Then, if I was a boy, would he come back? I turned toward her. No, you do not know. The words came from a 6-year-old child, but they carried the weight of something much older. I pulled her against me. You listen to me, Naomi Elise Bennett. Your father's choices are not a measurement of your worth. She did not understand. How could she? She was 6, so I held her until she fell asleep. Then I stared at the ceiling until morning. Victor did not come the next day, or the day after. He called once. I answered before the second ring. Where are you? Amara. Naomi keeps asking. I need time. You need time. I told you I will help. The twins need formula. I will send money. When? Friday. Friday came. No money. I called. No answer. Saturday. No answer. Sunday evening. He called. I said I am handling it. What does that mean? It means stop calling me every hour. I called twice. I am under pressure too. I looked around the kitchen. 2 bottles drying beside the sink. Laundry on a chair. Lydia asleep on the sofa. Naomi sitting at the table drawing. Pressure? Yes. Victor, I have 4 children. So do I. I almost laughed. Do you? He hung up. The next morning, I called Victor's mother, Dorothy Bennett. I had avoided it for days. Pride was part of the reason. History was another. I still remembered the way she had looked at me after the twins were born. Another girl, as though Maya and Mara had arrived carrying an apology. But that morning, Maya had been crying for nearly an hour. Mara had finally fallen asleep against my chest. My body still hurt from the delivery, and the doctor wanted to see Maya again because she had been feeding poorly. My mother had already missed work twice helping me. So I called. She answered on the 5th ring. Dorothy had always found a way to excuse Victor, even when no excuse should have existed. Hello. It is Amara. Her voice changed. Oh, I adjusted Mara carefully against my shoulder. I need to take Maya back to the doctor this afternoon. What is wrong with her? They want to check her weight and feeding. I see. I waited. She said nothing else. I was wondering if you could come sit with Naomi and Lydia for an hour, maybe 2, she exhaled. Amara, I do not think I should get involved. I stared at the wall. Involved in what? You and Victor? I am not asking you to get involved between me and Victor. You know what I mean. No, I do not. Mara stirred against me. I lowered my voice. I am asking whether you can sit with 2 of your granddaughters while I take your 2 youngest granddaughters to the doctor. Her answer came too quickly. I have things to do today. I closed my eyes. All right, and Amara. Yes. You should give Victor some space. My fingers tightened around the receiver. Space? He is under a lot of pressure. For a moment, I could not speak. Then I looked around my kitchen. Bottles waiting to be washed. Laundry I had not folded. A 6-year-old trying to pour cereal for her sister. One newborn against my chest. Another asleep in a bassinet. My body still recovering from bringing both of them into the world. What pressure! You know Victor always wanted a son. There are sentences that hurt because they surprise you. That one did not. Perhaps that was worse. I looked down at Mara's tiny face. Your son left 4 children. He did not leave the children. He left the marriage. I almost laughed. Is that what he told you? I am not discussing my son with you. No, of course not. Amara, I have to go. Do not be disrespectful. I stopped. Then I said the only thing I had left. Your granddaughters have a doctor's appointment. She did not answer. I asked for 2 hours. Still nothing. That told me everything. I ended the call. Dorothy never came. Neither did his brothers. Neither did the relatives who had filled our wedding reception, held my babies at christenings, eaten at my table, and called us family, when family required nothing from them. A few sent messages. I am praying for you. Stay strong. Give it time. Not one of those messages bought formula. Not one changed a diaper. Not one sat with Naomi when she waited near the window for a father who kept saying he would come. That was when I learned something about abandonment. Sometimes one person walks out, and sometimes an entire family stands back, watches the door close, and calls their silence neutrality. I still had to get Maya to the doctor. That was the part nobody seemed to understand about being left with 4 children. A crisis did not cancel the next responsibility. Victor could refuse to answer. His mother could refuse to come. His relatives could send prayers instead of help. But Maya still had an appointment. She still needed to be weighed. She still needed to be examined, and I still had to find a way to get her there. By noon, I had decided I would take all 4 girls with me. I did not know how. Naomi was 6. Lydia was 4. Maya and Mara were only days old. My body still hurt when I stood too quickly, and carrying one infant seat, pulled at places that had not begun to heal. But the appointment was not going to wait for my life to become easier. I had just finished dressing Lydia when someone knocked on the door. It was Mrs. Evelyn Holloway from 2 houses down. She was in her late 60s, a retired school secretary who had lived on our street longer than Victor and I had been married. She held a covered dish in both hands. I made too much chicken and rice. I looked at the dish. Then at her. Mrs. Holloway raised one eyebrow. We are both too grown for me to lie convincingly. Amara, I made it for you. Something tightened in my throat. Thank you. She looked past me. Naomi was trying to fasten Lydia's shoe. One twin was crying. The other had just begun. Mrs. Holloway looked back at me. Where are you going? The doctor. With all 4 children? I will manage. She studied my face. Then her eyes dropped briefly toward the way I was bracing one hand against the doorframe. No, I almost smiled. No, you are not taking 4 children to a doctor's office days after delivering twins. I do not have a choice. Yes, you do. She stepped inside as though the matter had already been settled. I will stay with the older girls. I stared at her. Mrs. Holloway, I cannot ask you to do that. You did not. I do not know how long I will be. I am retired. Time and I have an understanding. Despite everything, I laughed. Then I shook my head. I am taking Maya because they are worried about her feeding, but Mara is so little. I do not want to leave her. Then take both babies. I looked toward the bassinets. Mrs. Holloway followed my eyes. You take Maya and Mara. I will stay with Naomi and Lydia. I wanted to say no, not because I did not need the help, because accepting help had begun to feel dangerous. People promised things, then disappeared. Mrs. Holloway seemed to read something in my face. I am not asking you to trust the whole world, she said. I am asking you to let me sit in your living room with two little girls for a few hours. My eyes burned. I looked away. All right. Naomi stood. Mommy, I can help. I know you can. I can watch Lydia. Mrs. Holloway turned toward her. I have a better job for you. Naomi looked suspicious. What? You can show me where your mother keeps everything, because apparently I have been invited into a house with no instructions. Naomi straightened immediately. The cups are there. Lydia does not like the green one. I do like it. No, you do not. Mrs. Holloway nodded seriously. I can already see this is going to be complicated. For the first time that day, both older girls laughed. I took Maya and Mara to the appointment. The trip was painful. Getting in and out of the car hurt. Walking from the parking lot took longer than it should have. By the time I reached the doctor's office, one baby was crying, and the other had soaked through her clothes. But I got them there. Maya was examined. Mara was checked too. The doctor adjusted Maya's feeding plan and told me what signs to watch for. Then I brought both babies home. When I opened the front door, Naomi was coloring at the table. Lydia was asleep on the sofa, and Mrs. Holloway was washing bottles at my kitchen sink. I stopped. She looked over her shoulder. How did it go? That question nearly undid me, not because it was extraordinary, because it was the first time that day someone had asked what happened after offering actual help. Maya's all right, I said. We just have to watch her feeding. Mrs. Holloway nodded. Good. Then she turned back to the bottles. Dorothy shared blood with my daughters. Mrs. Holloway shared a street. That afternoon, I learned which one mattered more. 2 weeks after he left, I found the first clue, a receipt. It was inside the pocket of a jacket Victor had forgotten. A restaurant, 2 dinners, 1 bottle of wine. The date was from 3 months earlier. I stared at it. Then I remembered the late phone calls, the missed appointments. The phone turned face down. I called the restaurant. I do not know what I expected. Perhaps nothing. Perhaps I only needed to hear another human voice. A woman answered. I asked whether they kept reservation records. She said sometimes. I gave Victor's name. The woman on the line seemed to lose her words. Then, yes, table for 2. My fingers went cold. Do you have the other guest's name? I am sorry, ma'am. I thanked her. Then I sat at the kitchen table. Naomi came in. Mommy? I folded the receipt. Yes? Why are you crying? I touched my face. I had not realized I was. I am tired. She climbed onto the chair beside me. You sleep. I can watch the babies. I looked at her, 6 years old, trying to become useful enough that no one else would leave. That was the moment I understood. Abandonment does not only remove a parent. Sometimes it changes the job description of the child who remains. I pulled her into my arms. You do not have to take care of me. I know. No, sweetheart, I mean it. She nodded, but I could feel that she did not believe me. 3 days later, a woman called my house. Hello, may I speak with Victor? I adjusted the receiver against my ear. He does not live here. The woman seemed confused. What? I said. Victor does not live here. She stopped. Something about her reaction made me stand straighter. Who is this, Celeste? The name meant nothing to me then, not yet. How do you know my husband? Her breathing changed. Your husband. My fingers tightened around the receiver. Yes, he told me. She stopped again. What did he tell you? I am sorry. I think I have the wrong number. No, you do not. I should go. Celeste. She did not hang up. I could hear the faint hiss of the open line. How do you know, Victor? Her voice was quieter when she answered. He gave me this number months ago. My stomach tightened. Why? He said. If I ever could not reach him at work. She stopped. A cold feeling moved through me. Where did you think he was living? This time, Her answer came slowly. I thought he was staying with a friend. I gripped the edge of the table. Why would you think that? He said you were separated. The room seemed to shift around me. We were not separated. Celeste drew in a breath. I did not know what. She said nothing. Celeste, I have to go. Wait. The call disconnected. I called Victor immediately. He answered on the fourth ring. Who is Celeste? Victor did not answer. Victor, where did you hear that name? She called my house. He exhaled. Amara. Who is she? We should talk in person. My knees weakened. How long? Do not do this over the phone. How long? He said nothing. I gripped the receiver. Were you sleeping with her while I was pregnant? Amara. Were you? The line became so quiet that I could hear both of us breathing. For one impossible second, I thought he might refuse to answer. Then I heard him say it. Yes, one word, no explanation, no excuse, no apology, just the truth. So while I was carrying your daughters, you were building another family with your mistress. I lowered myself into the nearest chair because I was suddenly afraid my body would not hold me up. Across the room, Lydia was coloring. She had no idea that one word had just divided her childhood into before and after. She looked up at me. I turned away. How long? Almost a year. I closed my eyes. Almost a year. While I carried twins, while I struggled to sleep, while Naomi poured cereal for Lydia because I could barely stand some mornings, while Victor missed appointments, while I defended him. Almost a year! Is that where you are? He did not answer. Are you living with her? It is complicated. No. Twins are complicated. 4 children are complicated. Adultery is not complicated. Keep your voice down, I laughed. You are not even here. I know how you get. How I get? Emotional. I stared at the wall. Something inside me became very still. Do not call me emotional because I discovered my husband was sleeping with another woman while I carried his children. I did not say it like that. You said enough. I ended the call, but the worst revelation came 3 weeks later. My mother heard it first. She arrived at my house on a Thursday evening. One look at her face told me something was wrong. What happened? She set her purse down. Sit. I do not want to sit. Amara, tell me. She looked toward the girls. Naomi and Lydia were in the bedroom. The twins were asleep. My mother lowered her voice. Celeste is pregnant. The room tilted. What? I heard it from Ruth. Ruth knows Celeste. Her sister works with her. I gripped the counter. How far? I do not know exactly. Yes, you do. My mother looked away. Mom. Ruth heard somewhere around 3 months. Maybe a little more. 3 months. I counted backward, then stopped, because the answer made me sick. Victor had known at the hospital, when he looked at Maya and Mara and whispered, 4 girls. He had known another woman was pregnant. I called him. He did not answer. I called again. Nothing. The next morning, he appeared at my door. I opened it and slapped him. I had never hit anyone in my life. Victor stared at me. My hand burned. Is she pregnant? He looked past me. Where are the girls? Is she pregnant? Yes, the word nearly folded me. You knew, Amara. You knew when I was in the hospital. He said nothing. You stood beside me while I gave birth to 2 babies, and you knew. I did not know what to do. You knew exactly what to do. Your suitcase was already packed. He lowered his voice. I came to see the girls. No, do not use them. I stared at him. Use them? They are my children. Then act like it. His face tightened. I said I will help. Something in me snapped into focus. Stop calling it help. He frowned. What? You keep saying that. Saying what? That you will help me. I am trying to tell you. No, listen to yourself. He stared at me. I stepped closer. These are your children, I know that, do you? Amara? Formula is not a favor. Diapers are not a favor. Food is not a favor. A roof over their heads is not a favor. I never said it was. You say it every time you call your responsibility help. His jaw tightened. I am doing what I can. You have sent almost nothing. I am getting settled with your pregnant mistress. His face changed. I continued before he could interrupt me. You walked out of a house with 4 daughters and somehow turned yourself into the person who needs time to get settled. That is not fair. I looked toward the hallway. Naomi is 6. Lydia is 4. Maya and Mara are newborn babies. Which one of them gets time to settle into being abandoned? He looked away. No, look at me. His eyes returned to mine. You are not helping me, Victor. You are responsible for them. If you send money, you are not doing me a kindness. If you buy formula, you are not rescuing me. If you pay a school fee one day, I will not owe you gratitude for remembering that your daughters exist. His face hardened. You make everything sound ugly. I am describing it accurately. For once, Victor had no quick answer. Then he said quietly, I am still trying to get my life together. I held his gaze. You found time to build another life before taking care of the one you already had. Do not talk about Celeste like that. I gave a humorless laugh. How would you like me to describe the woman you left your wife and 4 daughters for? Amara. Does she think it is a boy? His eyes changed. There, I saw it. My stomach turned. She does. He looked away. I stepped back. For the first time, I understood the full shape of what had happened. Victor had not simply left a marriage. He had walked away from 4 daughters while chasing the possibility of a son. I opened the door wider. Get out. I came to see Naomi and Lydia. And the twins? His face changed. I saw it. A fraction of a second. But I saw it. You mean all 4 of your daughters? Of course. No, you said Naomi and Lydia. I misspoke. You forgot the babies. I did not forget anyone. I stared at him. Then I called toward the hallway. Naomi? She appeared. The moment she saw Victor, her entire face changed. Daddy, she ran. Victor crouched and caught her. Lydia followed. For 20 minutes, I watched my daughters love a man who had already begun rationing his love for them. He held Naomi, tickled Lydia, then stood beside the bassinets and looked down at the twins. Maya opened her eyes. Victor touched one finger to her hand. She gripped it. Something moved in his face. For one foolish second, hope rose inside me. Then his phone rang. He looked at the screen, turned away, answered softly. I am coming. I knew, Celeste. He left 10 minutes later. Naomi stood at the window. When is Daddy coming back? I do not know. She nodded. That became our answer for years. I do not know. The legal separation began. Then the divorce. Victor promised support. Some months he paid. Some months he did not. Sometimes he sent enough for groceries. Sometimes he disappeared. I returned to work sooner than I should have. Much sooner, my body had not finished healing. Some mornings. Simply getting out of bed reminded me that my body was still trying to recover from carrying twins and bringing them into the world 3 weeks before anyone expected them to arrive. But bills do not wait for recovery. Neither do hungry children. My mother helped every chance she got. She used vacation days. She rearranged her own schedule. She came after work even when she was exhausted herself. Margaret never arrived empty-handed. If she had enough money, she brought groceries. If she did not, she brought time. Sometimes she washed dishes while I fed the twins. Sometimes she folded laundry while Naomi proudly read aloud from her schoolbook. She never once asked when I thought life would become easier. She simply looked for the next thing that needed doing and quietly did it. And then there was Mrs. Evelyn Holloway. She never asked to become part of our family. She simply noticed where the empty spaces were and quietly stepped into them. Sometimes she stayed with the girls while I worked an evening shift. Sometimes she picked Naomi and Lydia up from school when I was running late. Sometimes she brought over a pot of soup and somehow left with my laundry folded before I even realized she had done it. When the twins were old enough, she watched all 4 girls whenever my mother could not. I tried more than once to pay her every single time. She refused. "You save your money for those girls," she would say. "I have everything I need." Before long, the girls stopped calling her Mrs. Holloway. Without anyone telling them to, they began calling her Grandma Holloway. She laughed every time she heard it. "I am not replacing anybody," she always said. "Your Grandma Margaret loves you very much. I am simply borrowing a little space in your hearts." She was right. Margaret was their grandmother. Mrs. Holloway became family by choice. Looking back now, I realize families are not always built by blood. Sometimes they are built by the people who quietly keep showing up after everyone else has walked away. I learned to sleep in pieces, 40 minutes, an hour, 2 hours if both babies somehow agreed. Money became mathematics, rent, food, formula, transportation, medicine, school. Every dollar had a destination before it arrived. One evening, I sat at the kitchen table with bills spread around me. Naomi entered quietly. "What are you doing?" "Grown-up homework." She climbed onto the chair. "Are you winning?" I smiled. "Not yet." She studied the papers. "What is overdue?" My head lifted. "Where did you learn that word?" She pointed to an envelope. It was stamped in red. I turned it over. "It means somebody is impatient." She nodded seriously, then went to her room. 5 minutes later, she returned with a small tin. She placed it on the table. "What is this?" "My money." Inside were coins, birthday money, change she had collected, a folded $5 bill. I stared at her. "No, you can have it." "No, sweetheart." For the overdue, my throat closed. I pushed the tin toward her. "That is your money, but we are a family." "Yes, so we share." I looked at my 6-year-old daughter. Victor believed girls carried another man's name, but this little girl was offering me everything she owned. I closed the tin. "Keep it." "Why?" "Because I am the mother." She frowned. "That does not mean you have all the money." "Despite everything," I laughed. Naomi smiled. Then she pushed the tin back toward me. I took 1 coin, a quarter. "All right," her face brightened. "This is your contribution. Only 25 cents. You drive a hard bargain," she laughed. I kept that quarter for 34 years. Life did not become easier after that. It simply kept moving. Several months passed. Life settled into something that was not quite living and not quite surviving. Every week looked like the one before it. Work, bills, laundry, formula, school lunches, doctor's appointments, finding ways to stretch $1 until it behaved like 2. Then the telephone rang. It was Victor's younger sister, Denise. She had called a handful of times since Victor left. Never for long, never to defend him, never to ask what we needed, mostly to tell me things she thought I should know. "Amara." "Yes, I thought you should hear this from me before somebody else tells you." Something in her voice made me sit down. "What happened?" "Celeste had the baby." I closed my eyes. And there was a brief pause, a girl for a moment. I said nothing. Not because I was happy. Not because I was disappointed. Not because I felt victorious. It was something much harder to name. Victor had walked away from 4 daughters chasing the possibility of a son, and life had handed him another little girl. "What is her name?" I asked quietly. "Ariel." I smiled, despite everything. "That is a beautiful name." Denise hesitated. "I thought you might. Might what?" "I do not know." "Celebrate." "Maybe." I looked toward the living room. Naomi was helping Lydia with a puzzle. Maya had just learned how to pull herself upright using the coffee table. Mara was laughing because her sister kept falling back onto her diaper. 4 little girls, 4 lives that deserved to be loved simply because they existed. No child deserves to become somebody's disappointment, I said. Denise did not answer. After a moment she whispered, I know. That night, after the girls were asleep, I sat alone at the kitchen table. A small part of me expected Victor to call. I am ashamed to admit that now. I thought perhaps reality had finally reached him. Perhaps he would look at Ariel and understand that daughters were never failed sons. Perhaps he would remember Naomi, Lydia, Maya, Mara. He did call 3 days later, Amara. Yes? I want to see the girls. My heart moved. When? Sunday. I waited. That is all. What do you mean? Nothing. Sunday came. The girls dressed. Naomi chose her favorite dress. Lydia drew him a picture. The twins were too young to understand. 10 o'clock, no Victor. 11. No Victor? At noon? Naomi asked. Did Daddy say Sunday? Yes. Maybe he meant next Sunday, I called. No answer. At 2, Lydia folded the picture. At 4, Naomi changed out of her dress. Victor called Monday. Ariel was sick. I closed my eyes. Is she all right? Yes, good. He became quiet. You are not angry. I am angry. You do not sound angry. Your baby was sick. She is my daughter. The sentence entered me like cold air. She is my daughter. I looked at the 4 girls playing in my living room. Yes, I said, she is. The first real school fee crisis came the following year. Naomi was 7. Lydia was 5. The twins were 1. I received a notice. Fees overdue. Payment required. The school asked me to come in that afternoon. By the time I arrived, Naomi was sitting quietly on a wooden bench outside the principal's office. Her backpack rested neatly on her lap. The moment she saw me, she smiled. Not because she was happy, because she thought she was supposed to make me feel better. My heart tightened. The principal invited me into the office. She spoke kindly, explained the situation, apologized more than once. School policy, outstanding balance, payment required. I understood. She was doing her job. When the meeting ended, Naomi stood as soon as I opened the door. Mommy? Yes, sweetheart. Can I go back to class now? I looked at the principal. She gave me a small nod. Just for today. I smiled at Naomi. Yes. Her whole face brightened. She hugged me quickly before running back toward her classroom. She did not ask why the office had sent her outside. She did not ask why my eyes looked different. She simply trusted that whatever had happened, I would do everything I could to make it right. The principal looked at me. She may return to class today, she said gently, but we will need the balance soon. I understand. She gave me a sympathetic smile. I know you will do everything you can, I thanked her. Then I walked back to my car. School ended a few hours later. Naomi climbed into the passenger seat without her usual excitement. She fastened her seatbelt, then folded her hands neatly in her lap. We drove for several minutes before she spoke. Mommy? Yes? If school costs too much, she swallowed. Can I stop going for a while? My hands tightened around the steering wheel. What did you say? I can stay home. She looked down at her shoes. I can help with the babies. The words settled over the car like a heavy blanket. She was 7 years old. She should have been worrying about spelling tests, not sacrificing her future. I pulled the car to the side of the road, put it in park, then turned toward her. No, she looked surprised. Mommy. No. Her eyes filled immediately. I softened my voice. Come here. She leaned toward me. I brushed a tear from her cheek. Listen to me very carefully. She nodded. Being born a girl will never be the reason you make yourself smaller. She blinked. Do you understand? A tiny nod. Say it, her voice barely came out. Being born a girl will never be the reason I make myself smaller. Again, she took a deeper breath. Being born a girl will never be the reason I make myself smaller. I kissed her forehead. Then I started the car. I did not know how I was going to pay those school fees, but I knew one thing. Victor Bennett would never decide how far my daughters would go. When we reached home, I called Victor immediately. No answer. I called again, still nothing. I left one message. By the time I reached home, there was dinner to cook, homework to check, baths to give. Two little girls who somehow took turns deciding the night was over. Life kept moving whether my heart was ready or not. A little after 8 that evening, my phone rang. Victor, what? I stared at the phone. What do you mean, what, you called? Naomi's school fees are overdue. So for a second, I thought I had misunderstood him. So? I sent money last month for the twins. Money is money. No, Victor. Formula is formula. School is school. He exhaled. I cannot keep doing this. Doing what? Every time you need something you call. They are your children. I have responsibilities. I became still. Celeste? No answer came. Is that what you mean? I have another household. You created another household. I am not arguing. Naomi may not be allowed back in school. Then put her somewhere cheaper. I stared at the wall. She has been at that school since before you left. Things change. She is doing well. She is 7. What does that mean? It means she does not need an expensive school. It is not an expensive school. Amara, I am done. No. Victor. You are not done. You are her father. His voice hardened. I have another child to support. I stared into the darkness. Another child? You know what I mean. I do. I know exactly what you mean. He exhaled. Do not start. You already knew you were the father of 4 daughters before your mistress became pregnant. That is not what I said. It is what you keep doing, Amara. You speak as though every new responsibility erases the old ones. He became defensive. I am trying to take care of everybody. No, Victor, you are deciding who matters most at the moment and calling that responsibility. Victor, please. I hated the word the moment it left me. Please. But Naomi was 7. Pride does not pay school fees. Please help your daughter. I thought I was alone in the kitchen. I was not. Naomi had wandered quietly into the hallway. I never noticed. He was quiet. Then he said something I would remember for the rest of my life. I am not spending everything I earn educating girls who will grow up and marry into other families. I could not speak. The house had gone strangely quiet. I lowered the receiver for a moment. Something made me glance toward the hallway. Naomi was standing there, one hand rested against the wall. I could not tell how much she had heard. She looked at me for only a second. Then she turned and walked away. Before I could call her name, Victor's voice pulled me back. I lifted the receiver to my ear. I have to think about my future, too. Your future? Yes. What do you think Naomi is? Do not twist my words. I do not have to. Amara, she is your future. I said I will help when I can. When he did not answer. Shh, all right, he sounded surprised. What? I said, all right, Amara. You will never have to explain it to me again. I ended the call. That night, after the girls were asleep, I walked quietly into their bedroom. Moonlight spilled across the room. Naomi's backpack hung neatly from the chair beside her bed. I rested one hand on it, very gently. So long as I am breathing, I whispered. You will never lose your education. She never heard me. She slept peacefully. I stood there for another moment. Then I quietly closed the bedroom door. I took extra work. Then more. I cleaned offices in the evenings. I did bookkeeping for a small shop on weekends. My mother watched the girls when she could. There were nights I came home after they were asleep, and mornings I left before the twins woke. On those nights, Margaret always left a plate covered with foil inside the oven. There was usually a small note beside it. Eat first, worry later. I never followed the second instruction. I hated it. But I paid the fees. Not easily. Not heroically. There is nothing cinematic about choosing which bill can survive another week. Nothing beautiful about pretending you already ate, so your children will finish what is left. Nothing inspiring about exhaustion when you are inside it. It is simply exhausting. One night, Lydia found me standing in the kitchen eating the crust from her unfinished sandwich. She was 5. "Mommy," I turned. "You are supposed to be asleep." "Why are you eating my trash?" I looked at the crust. "It is not trash. You said you were not hungry." I changed my mind, she studied me, then walked to the refrigerator. "What are you doing?" "Getting you food." "I am fine." She opened the door. There was almost nothing inside. She stared. I wanted to disappear. Lydia closed the refrigerator. The next morning she did not finish her breakfast. "I am full. You ate 3 bites. My stomach is small." I looked at her. She pushed the plate toward me. "You can have it." That was when I realized she knew. Not everything. Enough. I sat beside her. "Lydia, I am full." "No, you are not." Her eyes dropped. I took her hand. "You never have to be hungry to protect me," she began crying. "I saw you eating my bread." I pulled her into my arms. I was not hungry. "You are lying, 5 years old," calling me out with tears running down her face. I laughed and cried at the same time. "All right," she wiped her nose. "You are bad at lying," so I have been told. From that day, Lydia began watching money. The next afternoon, Margaret came by after work. I told her what Lydia had said. She was quiet for a long moment. Then she opened her purse, took out a few folded bills, and placed them on the kitchen table. "Mom," she shook her head, "I am not trying to solve your problems." She looked toward the girls. "I am helping my granddaughters keep their mother standing." I tried to refuse. She refused to let me. At 6, Lydia knew which grocery store sold cheaper milk. At 7, she could tell me when we were running low on rice. Mrs. Holloway laughed that Lydia could probably run a grocery store before she reached middle school. At 8, she started writing household expenses in a little notebook. I found it beneath her pillow. Milk, bread, bus. Baby soap underneath, she had written, "Things Mommy needs help with." I sat on the edge of her bed and cried. Each daughter carried those years in a different way. Naomi became responsible long before childhood should have asked it of her. Lydia watched everything. Prices, expressions, empty cupboards. Maya refused to believe there was anything she could not climb over. Mara learned to observe before she spoke. The twins shared a face. They did not share a personality. Margaret noticed it before I did. One evening, she said quietly, "Children do not all heal in the same direction." I never forgot those words. Maya climbed everything. Chairs, counters, trees. Every time Mrs. Holloway caught her scaling another piece of furniture, she would throw up her hands and laugh. "That child is going to climb the Washington Monument one day." She was not entirely joking. Margaret would smile without looking up from whatever she was doing. "She probably will." Then she would add, "And when she gets there, she will be looking for the next mountain." Neither of them knew how right they were. Once, at 3 years old, I found Maya standing on the kitchen table. "What are you doing looking? For what?" She pointed upward. "The top." Mara sat on the floor with a book. Without looking up, she said, "She is going to fall," Maya shouted. "No, I am not." She fell. Mara turned a page. "I told you." Those girls saved me in ways they never understood. There was hardship, but there was laughter too. I want that remembered. We danced in the kitchen. We made birthday cakes that leaned to one side. We turned power outages into shadow puppet nights. When we could not afford a vacation, I spread blankets in the living room and told the girls we were camping. Naomi looked around. "Inside?" "Yes," Lydia asked. "Are we poor?" I nearly dropped the bowl in my hand. "Maya, only 4, shouted. "No, we have popcorn!" Nodded. "Poor people can have popcorn!" I stared at her. Naomi burst out laughing. Then all of us did. That became one of our family stories. Not because poverty was funny, because children sometimes rescue adults from the seriousness of survival. Victor promised he would come again. He never did. A few months later, he promised another visit. That one never happened either. Years began moving. Not quickly. Life never feels quick while you are paying for it one day at a time. Naomi turned 9, then 10. She excelled in science. Lydia discovered numbers. Maya fought a boy at school because he said girls could not play soccer. Mara read everything she could find. Margaret attended every school program she possibly could. If I had to work, she clapped loudly enough for both of us. The girls never looked into the audience and found an empty seat waiting for them. Victor became an occasional voice, then a rare one. Birthdays passed. Sometimes a card came, sometimes nothing. One year, Naomi sat beside the telephone until 9 at night. I knew why. I did not say anything. At 9:15, she stood. "Good night, Mom." I looked at the untouched birthday cake. "Naomi, I am tired. He may still call." She turned. I was not waiting. Children learn pride early when disappointment becomes repetitive. Victor called 2 days later. "Tell her I am sorry." "No." "What? Tell her yourself." "She will not come to the phone." "Then sit with that." He became angry. "You have poisoned them against me." I almost laughed. "You think I did this? You always make me the villain." "I do not have to make you anything, Victor. I just stopped editing your behavior for the children." He hung up. That was the year Naomi stopped asking when he was coming. At 12, she won a regional science competition. I called Victor. I do not know why. Perhaps some hope survives even after dignity tells it to die. Naomi won. Won what? I stared at the phone. The science competition. Oh, she beat students from 14 schools. That is good. She wants to become a doctor. Victor laughed softly, not cruelly, dismissively. Children say things. My grip tightened. She is serious. Medical school costs money. Yes. Do not fill her head with unrealistic ideas. I became very still. What did you say? You know what I mean. No, explain. She is a girl, Amara. I looked across the room. Naomi stood in the hallway. I did not know how long she had been there. Her face told me enough. I ended the call. She walked away. I followed. Naomi. I am fine. No. I said I am fine. She entered her room. I went after her. She turned. I heard him. My heart sank. He does not think I can do it. That is not what he said. She looked at me. I stopped. I had promised myself I would stop editing his behavior, so I told the truth. No, he does not. Her eyes filled. I stepped closer. But your father has been wrong before. She looked away. I am going to be a doctor, yes, and when I am, do not tell him. The sentence startled me. Naomi, I mean it. She wiped her face. He does not get to be proud of something he tried to stop. That was the first time I saw the woman she would become. Lydia's wound was different. At 10, she found an old notebook where I had written expenses from the year Victor left. She brought it to me. What is this? I looked at the page. Formula, rent, school, bus, medicine. Old bills, she pointed to a note. Victor promised Friday. Underneath. Not received, then another. Called again, then no answer. Lydia looked at me. Did Daddy know we needed money? I closed the book. You were a child. That is not what I asked. She had always been like that, precise. Did he know? Yes, and he did not help. Sometimes he did. Sometimes I sat down. Lydia. She stepped back. No, what? You always do that. Do what? Make it sound better. I stared at her. She was 10. But children raised around financial fear often mature in strange directions. Did he say girls were not worth school money? My breath stopped. Who told you that? Naomi. I closed my eyes. Of course, the sisters had their own archive, their own history, their own version of events assembled from overheard conversations and missing birthdays. Mom! Yes. Did he say it? I looked at her. Yes. Lydia nodded, once, then she walked away. That evening, I found her little expense notebook in the trash. I took it out. The next morning, she started a new one. On the first page, she had written, "I will never need him." That sentence frightened me more than anger would have. I sat beside her. You are allowed to need people. Not him. No, maybe not him. Not anybody. I touched her hand. That is not strength. She looked at me. It is safe. There are moments when you realize your child survived something by building a wall you cannot simply ask her to remove. I did not argue. I stayed beside her. By the time the twins were 10, Victor had become almost mythical to them. Maya was angry at a man she barely remembered. Mara was curious. One afternoon, Mara asked, "What did he smell like?" I looked up from the laundry. "What, Dad?" Maya rolled her eyes. "Why do you care?" Mara ignored her. "What did he smell like?" I sat back. The question broke my heart because it was so specific. Soap. What kind? I do not remember. You remember everything. No, sweetheart. She looked disappointed. Then I remembered sandalwood. Her face brightened. He used sandalwood soap. Maya crossed her arms. Did he smell like lies too? Maya. What? You are 10. I know what lies are. Mara looked at her twin. You do not have to ruin every question. I am not ruining it. Yes, you are. He left us. I know. So why do you want to know his soap? Because I do. Maya stood. That is stupid! Mara's face changed. I stepped between them. No. Maya looked at me. What? You do not get to tell your sister how to feel about a father. Neither of you remembers. He did not want us. Mara flinched. I saw it. Maya saw it too. The anger disappeared from her face. She looked at her twin. I did not mean. Yes, you did. Mara walked away. That night, Maya climbed into Mara's bed. I heard them whispering. I am sorry. Mara kept her face turned toward the wall. I am still mad at him. I know. You can ask about the soap. Maya shifted beside her sister, waiting. Then Mara said, You can be mad. That was how my daughters grew, not untouched together. Years later, people would look at them and see success. They would not see the childhood negotiations behind it. Who got the new shoes? Who could wait? Who needed bus fare? Who pretended not to care about a school trip? Who quietly left the last piece of chicken for someone else? When Naomi received her university acceptance letter, she screamed so loudly that a neighbor came outside. I ran into the kitchen. What happened? She held the letter. Her hands were shaking. I got in. I stared at her. What? I got in. Then she started crying. I grabbed the paper, read the first line, read it again. Lydia began screaming. The twins ran in. Within seconds, all 5 of us were crying. Then Naomi said, Wait! The room quieted. What? She pointed lower on the page. The scholarship was substantial, not full, but enough to make possibility visible. I sat down. Mom? I covered my face. For years, I had refused to cry in front of them when money frightened me. That day, I cried. Naomi knelt beside me. I told you. I looked at her. What? I told you I was going to be a doctor. I laughed through tears. Yes, you did, she smiled. Do not tell him. The room changed. Victor, even absent, he could enter. I touched her face. This is your news. I know. You decide. I already did. I nodded. All right. But somebody told him. I suspected Denise. By then, I had learned that information moved through Victor's family faster than responsibility ever had. I called her. She answered cheerfully. Amara. Did you tell Victor about Naomi? Her cheerfulness disappeared. I thought he should know. Why? He is her father. I closed my eyes. No, Denise, do not do that. Do what? Use the word father when it is convenient. That is not fair, I laughed once. Fair, I have always cared about those girls. Yes, you have. She became quiet. I continued. You call me when Victor moves. You call me when he changes women. You call me when somebody is pregnant. You call me when a baby is born. Amara. But you never call and ask what his daughters need. That is not true. When the twins needed formula, where were you? She did not answer. When Naomi needed school fees. Amara, when Lydia started watching how much food I put on my own plate because she knew there was not enough. I did not know that. Exactly. My voice broke despite my effort to control it. You always know what Victor is doing. Somehow, you never know what his daughters are surviving. The line remained open. I could hear her breathing. Then Denise said quietly, I was afraid of losing my family. I looked toward the living room where my daughters sat together. And what did you think we were? She began crying. I did not. Not then. I am sorry. I believe you, she sniffed. Do you? Yes. I looked down at the phone in my hand. But Denise, being sorry from a safe distance is still a safe distance. I ended the call. 3 weeks later, Victor called. Why did I have to hear from someone else that Naomi is going to university? I stared at the phone. You want me to answer that? I am her father. Are you? Do not start. You called. I want to speak to her. I looked toward the living room. Naomi was there. She knew. I covered the receiver. He wants to talk to you. Her face hardened. No. I returned to the phone. She does not want to speak. You have turned them against me. I felt tired. No, Victor. You keep saying that because the alternative requires you to examine 30 years of choices. It has not been 30 years. Not yet. No answer came. Then he said, I heard she wants medical school. Yes, that is expensive. I laughed. He became defensive. What? Nothing, Amara. I just remembered a school office. He said nothing. Do you? The line remained quiet. Then, I was younger. So was she. He hung up. Naomi went to university. Lydia followed a different path. Numbers. Finance. Strategy. She could look at a page of figures and see a story. By 17, she was helping a local business owner organize receipts. By 19, she had earned a scholarship of her own. The twins grew. Maya sold handmade accessories at school before anyone taught her the word entrepreneur. Mara became fascinated by computers. Our home changed, not overnight. Slowly. A better job for me, scholarships. Part-time work. Careful saving. The first time I opened the refrigerator and realized I could buy groceries without calculating what bill would be late. I stood there longer than necessary. Lydia walked in. What are you doing? Nothing. You are staring at yogurt, I laughed. I know. Why, I looked at the full shelves. Because I can, she understood. Of course she did. She came beside me. For a moment, neither of us spoke. Then she said, We made it. I looked at her. No, she frowned. No, we are making it. There is a difference. Around that time, Victor began appearing in fragments again, not physically. Through other people, a photograph, a rumor, a relative mentioning his business. We learned he and Celeste had not lasted. Ariel was growing. Victor saw her irregularly. I felt sorry for the child. Then another name began appearing, Vanessa Cole. The first time I heard it, I ignored it. Victor's life was no longer my business. The second time, his sister called. Have you heard? Heard what? Victor is seeing someone. I almost laughed. Why are you telling me? Because... She stopped. Because what? She is pregnant. I closed my eyes. Several years had passed. My daughters were no longer small. Naomi was already in university. Lydia's acceptance letter had long since been folded into a family keepsake. Now she was preparing to leave home for the university. Maya had become captain of her soccer team. Mara never went anywhere without a book tucked under her arm. Still, something old moved inside me. Not jealousy. Memory. I hope the baby is healthy, Amara. What? There are two. I became still. Twins. Yes, I sat down. For one irrational second, I saw Maya and Mara in hospital blankets. Does he know what they are? No answer came. That was my answer. What? Boys. I closed my eyes. Twin boys. The thing Victor had once believed he was owed, I did not tell my daughters. Not immediately. I wanted to protect them, but adult children are not protected by silence. They are merely forced to discover truth without you. Naomi found out first. She came home one weekend. I knew something was wrong the moment she entered. She placed her bag down. Did you know? I looked at her. Know what? Do not. My stomach tightened. Know me. Did you know Vanessa was pregnant? The room became quiet. Lydia looked up from the table. The twins stopped talking. I answered carefully. Yes, Naomi laughed once. Of course, I was going to tell you. When? I do not know. After they were born? Naomi, she walked away. I followed. You do not get to be angry because I tried to protect you. She turned. I am not 6. I know, do you? Her voice cracked. Because you keep deciding what I can handle. I stared at her. She wiped her face. He is having boys. It was not a question. I nodded. Twins. Yes. Maya stood. You are joking! No, Lydia looked down. Mara became completely still. Naomi laughed again. This time it sounded like pain. Of course. I stepped toward her. Sweetheart. No, she backed away. He finally got what he wanted. Those babies have done nothing wrong. I know that. Then do not. I know. Her voice broke. I know they did nothing wrong. Tears filled her eyes. That is what makes it worse. I stopped. She pressed both hands against her face. I do not hate babies, Mom. I hate that I am still the little girl asking why I was not enough. The room went silent. Lydia stood. She went to her sister. Naomi let her hold her. Maya looked furious. Mara stared at the floor. I watched my 4 daughters absorb another consequence of a decision made years earlier. That night, Mara came into my room. Mom. Yes, do you think he will love them? I closed the book in my hand. I do not know. She sat on the edge of the bed. If they are boys, I looked at her. He should love every child. That is not what I asked. My daughters had inherited my dislike of evasive answers. I sighed. He nodded. You think he will? Yes, she looked toward the window. More than us. My heart tightened. Mara, I know. His choices do not measure my worth. I stared at her. She gave a sad smile. You have said it a lot. I moved closer. Then hear it again. She shook her head. I am not asking about my worth. The distinction silenced me. She looked at me. I am asking about his love. I had no answer. The twin boys were born healthy. Adrian and Andrew. Victor celebrated publicly. I did not see the photograph first. Naomi did. It happened on a Sunday afternoon. She had come home for the weekend. I was in the kitchen when I heard something fall. I walked into the hallway. Naomi stood beside the table. Her phone was on the floor. Naomi, she did not answer. I picked up the phone. The screen was still open. A photograph. Victor. older now, smiling, holding two newborn boys, one in each arm. His face was transformed. Pride, joy, triumph. I had seen that expression once before, not when Naomi was born, not when Lydia was born, not when Maya and Mara came home, in my imagination. For years, I had imagined what Victor might have looked like if one of our babies had been male. Now I knew. Below the photograph was a caption. My sons, my legacy, everything I prayed for. I stopped breathing. Behind me, Lydia entered. What happened? Naomi took the phone from my hand. Too late, Lydia saw. Then Maya, then Mara. 4 daughters stood around one photograph. No one spoke. Maya moved first. She turned away. Of course. Lydia's face became expressionless. Mara stared at the screen. Naomi sat down. I went to her. She looked up at me for a moment. She was not a university student, not the brilliant young woman fighting her way toward medicine. She was 6 years old again, barefoot near a front door, watching a suitcase leave. Mom? Yes? Her voice became very small. Why was he able to love them? I sat beside her. Naomi! No, she shook her head. Please do not tell me about my worth. Tears ran down her face. I know my worth. I could not speak. She pointed toward the photograph. I am asking about him. My throat closed. Why could he look like that for them? I looked at Victor's face on the screen, at the 2 boys, at the caption. My sons, my legacy, everything I prayed for, and for the first time in years, I hated him. Not because he had sons, not because Vanessa had given birth to boys. I hated him because somewhere inside that public celebration was a message my daughters had spent their entire childhood trying not to hear. You were not what I wanted. Maya took the phone. She read the caption again. Then she laughed. A cold sound. Legacy, Maya. No, I want to understand. She looked at me. What exactly did we spend all these years doing? Maya, Naomi is going to be a doctor. Lydia is building a career. Mara can do things with computers. I do not even understand. And I have been making my own money since I was 14. Her voice rose. But 2 babies are born and suddenly he has a legacy. Maya, those boys are innocent. I know, she threw the phone onto the sofa. I am not angry at babies, she pointed toward the screen. I am angry at him. Mara picked up the phone. She stared at the photograph longer than any of us. Then she asked, Do they know about us? The question silenced the room. Lydia looked at her. What? The boys, they are babies? I mean later? Mara's eyes remained on the photograph. Will he tell them they have 4 sisters? Nobody answered. She looked at me. Will he? I do not know. Maya folded her arms. He will probably pretend we do not exist. Naomi wiped her face. Maybe that is better. I looked at her. She stood. I mean it, Naomi. He has what he wants. She picked up her bag. Let him keep it. She walked upstairs. One by one, my daughters left the room. I remained alone with the photograph still glowing on the screen. Victor had finally received the life he believed he deserved. Twin sons, a future. A legacy. At least. That was what he thought. That night, after everyone had gone to sleep, I opened the drawer beside my bed. At the back was an old envelope. Inside, it was a quarter. The same quarter Naomi had given me years earlier when she found me surrounded by overdue bills. I held it in my palm. 25 cents. Everything my 6-year-old daughter owned had once been offered to help our family, and the man who called her a poor investment was celebrating his legacy somewhere else. I closed my hand around the coin. I thought that photograph was the cruelest thing my daughters would ever survive. I was wrong. For now, all we knew was what the photograph showed us. Victor Bennett had finally gotten his sons, and my 4 daughters had finally stopped waiting for him to choose them. If you were Amara, what would you have done? Would you have told the daughters immediately, when you learned Victor was expecting twin boys, Or would you have protected them for as long as possible? And if you were Naomi, would you ever speak to your father again after seeing that photograph? Tell me in the comments, because I have a feeling people will see this very differently. And if you want part 2, where the choices Victor made begin changing far more lives than he ever imagined, subscribe and turn on notifications so you do not miss what happens next. Because in part 2, Victor discovers that time has a way of collecting unpaid debts. And sometimes, the family truth that destroys you is not the one your enemies kept from you. It is the one hidden by the people you trusted most.
This is Cora Stories. Until next time, take care of yourself. Take care of the people who show up for you. And remember, and child's worth is never determined by the disappointment of a parent who failed to recognize it.
By the time my daughter-in-law reached number 9, my son still had not looked at me. Chloe stood in the middle of my kitchen with a typed list in one hand and the confidence of a woman who believed she had finally found the correct way to manage me. Number 9, she read. You will respect my position as the matriarch of my family. My decisions regarding Liam and Lily are final. Liam shifted behind her. His shoes scraped the same floor where he had once raced toy cars beneath my table. He was 35 years old, a husband and a father. But in that moment, he looked like a little boy hoping 2 women would settle his life without requiring anything from him. Chloe reached the final item. Your acceptance of these terms is mandatory. They are not open for discussion. Then she placed the paper on my counter and waited. She expected tears. Liam expected surrender. For 5 years, both of them had watched me apologize for invitations I had not received, traditions I was no longer allowed to mention, and love that seemed to require advance approval. I looked at the list. Then I looked at my son, and finally, I looked at the woman who had mistaken my silence for obedience. No, thank you. Those 3 words did not destroy my family. They exposed the truth about what had already been destroying it. Welcome back to Cora Stories. Before we continue, tell me where you are watching from today and what time it is where you are. I always love seeing how far our Cora Stories family reaches. And I want to ask you something. If remaining part of your son's family meant slowly surrendering your dignity, how much would you tolerate before finally refusing? Or would there come a moment when keeping your dignity mattered more than being included? If stories about family, sacrifice, hidden resentment, forgiveness, and the difficult boundaries between love and control mean something to you, you are always welcome to subscribe and become part of our growing Cora Stories family. Now, let me take you back to the years when I was so determined to become the perfect mother-in-law that I nearly disappeared from my own family. My name is Helena Morgan, and I was 61 years old when my daughter-in-law brought that list into my kitchen. Long before Chloe entered our family, I had made myself a promise. I would never become my mother-in-law. Vera Morgan believed marriage transferred ownership of a son, but not authority over him. When I married Philip, she inspected my kitchen cabinets, corrected the way I folded his shirts, and once remade an entire pot of stew while I was in the laundry room because, according to her, I had cut the carrots too thick. She never raised her voice. She did not need to. Her disapproval arrived quietly and sat at the table with us. For years, I measured myself against whatever version of woman she believed Philip deserved. I cooked differently when she visited. I changed curtains she disliked. I laughed at comments that left me cleaning the kitchen long after everyone else had gone to bed because scrubbing the same clean counter was easier than admitting I was hurt. So when our only son, Liam, told us he was bringing someone home, I prepared myself to do everything differently. Chloe arrived carrying a lemon cake from a bakery across town. She was intelligent, polished, and quick to laugh. She asked Philip about his woodworking, complimented the old photographs in our hallway, and listened while Liam told the embarrassing story of the year I made him wear a bright orange coat so I could find him on school field trips. At one point, she reached for my hand. "I hope you know, I am not taking him away from you," she said. I remember smiling so hard my cheeks hurt. "You are not taking anyone," I told her. "You are joining us." I meant it. When Liam proposed 8 months later, I promised myself again that I would respect every decision. Their wedding, their home, their future. At first, Chloe seemed grateful. "I have had a vision for this wedding since I was 16, she told me over coffee. "I know that probably sounds ridiculous." "It sounds organized," I said. "Tell me where you want me, and I will stay there." She laughed. "I thought we understood each other." Then Liam began calling. "Mom, the florist Chloe wants is booked." I knew a florist who owed me a favor, so I made one call. "Mom, the venue needs another deposit by Friday." Philip and I covered it. "Mom, Chloe found the dress, but it is more than she planned." I paid the difference and told Liam it was a wedding gift. Every request came through him. Every solution came from me. Chloe thanked me politely, but our conversations became shorter. I assumed she was overwhelmed. 3 weeks before the wedding, I made my first real mistake. The caterer mentioned that the dessert table looked sparse for the guest count. I ordered 2 additional trays of pastries without asking Chloe. It seemed harmless. It was the kind of detail I had handled for charity events for years. Chloe found out at the final tasting. "I already chose the desserts," she said. "I know. These are only extra," but I did not ask for extra. Her tone embarrassed me in front of the caterer, but she was right. "I should have called you," I said. "I am sorry," she nodded once. That should have been the end of it. Instead, that moment became evidence she carried into every disagreement that followed. To Chloe, it proved I was waiting for opportunities to take control. To me, it proved that one wrong step could erase 20 careful ones. On the wedding day, she was beautiful. Liam cried when she walked down the aisle. Philip reached for my hand, and I squeezed his fingers while our son promised his life to another person. At the reception, I watched Chloe thank the wedding planner, the caterer, the florist, and 2 college friends who had assembled the favors. She never mentioned me. I told myself I did not need public gratitude. Family did not keep score, but later, when I found the extra pastries untouched in the kitchen, I stood beside them longer than necessary. That was the beginning of a habit I would not recognize until years later. I kept offering more, hoping that usefulness would become belonging. I did not understand that the easiest way to disappear inside a family is to become the person everyone calls when something is needed, but no one thinks to include when nothing is wrong. A year after the wedding, Lily was born. The first photograph Liam sent showed a tiny face beneath a pink hospital cap. I enlarged it on my phone until the pixels blurred. Philip leaned over my shoulder. "She has Helena's mouth," he said. "She is 6 hours old." "She still has your mouth," I laughed, and for a little while, every difficult moment with Chloe seemed too small to matter. Before they left the hospital, I asked when they wanted visitors. "Chloe wants the first few days quiet," Liam said. "But you are not a visitor, Mom. Come whenever." I should have confirmed with Chloe. Instead, I listened to my son. The next morning, I arrived with chicken soup, baked pasta, cut fruit, and enough containers to fill half their refrigerator. Liam opened the door wearing the same shirt he had worn the day before. "Thank God," he whispered. "Real food." I stepped inside and found Chloe on the sofa. trying to nurse Lily beneath a blanket. Her hair was tied loosely at the back of her head. A glass of water sat beyond her reach. The moment she saw me, her expression changed. "Liam, I thought we agreed on no visitors. She is my mother." "That does not make her invisible." I stopped near the doorway with 2 food bags cutting into my fingers. "I can leave everything here and go," I said. Chloe adjusted the blanket around Lily. "You are already here." It was not a welcome. It was a fact. I put the food away as quietly as I could. On the refrigerator was a feeding chart, a medication schedule, and a handwritten reminder that said, "Sleep when the baby sleeps." Chloe had not slept. That much was clear. "Would you like me to hold her while you shower?" I asked. "I need to establish feeding." "Of course. I have researched this carefully. I can see that." The words came out too quickly, and she heard something in them that I had not intended. Her eyes settled on me. "What does that mean?" "It means I can see how prepared you are." "You sounded skeptical." I was not. Liam stood between us holding a container of soup. Saying nothing, I stayed 12 minutes. That evening, I sent Chloe a message. "I am sorry I arrived without confirming with you directly. Liam told me to come. But I should have checked. I remember how exposed those first days can feel. I will wait for an invitation next time," she replied 3 hours later. "Thank you for understanding." The message was polite. It was also the last time she acknowledged an apology without attaching it to something else. Over the next 2 years, I learned the rules by violating them. Do not kiss Lily near her face. Do not bring food unless Chloe has approved the ingredients. Do not buy clothes because Chloe prefers neutral colors. Do not call during nap time, though nap time changed every few weeks. Do not mention how Liam slept as a baby because comparisons created pressure. Some rules were reasonable. I followed them. Some were preferences. I followed those too. What wore me down was not the rules. It was the suspicion beneath them. Every gesture was examined for hidden meaning. Every suggestion became criticism. Every memory from Liam's childhood was treated as an attempt to prove that I knew more. Before Lily's 2nd birthday, I called Chloe with an idea. "My mother used to fill the living room with balloons before we woke up on our birthdays," I said. "I wondered whether you might let me do something small like that for Lily." "Latex balloons are a choking risk," Chloe answered. "That is true. I could use Mylar. They are wasteful." "All right, we can forget it." She paused. "I just do not want Lily growing up believing love has to look like excess." The sentence stayed with me. I had suggested balloons. Chloe had answered as though I had proposed raising Lily without values. At the party, every decoration was reusable. The cake contained no refined sugar. The gifts had been selected from a registry Chloe described as developmentally intentional. I brought an illustrated copy of Goodnight Moon. Liam had loved it as a child. I had read it so often that, even 25 years later, I could still remember the rhythm of every page. Chloe turned the book over in her hands. "She is using high contrast cards right now," she said. "She can grow into it. We are trying to avoid clutter." It is one book. Her face changed slightly. "And that is how clutter begins." Liam heard her. So did Philip. Neither man said a word. Chloe placed the book on a side table and began greeting another guest. I watched Lily toddle past it in a paper crown. That night, Liam called, "Mom, you seemed upset." I was embarrassed. Chloe did not mean anything by it. "Then why are you calling to explain it?" He was quiet. "She is under a lot of pressure." "From whom?" "Life, Mom. Work, parenting, everything. I am part of everything now." That is not what I said. It was what he meant. But I spared him from having to admit it. "I will be more careful," I said. Philip was sitting across from me when I ended the call. "You apologized again," he said. "I do not want Liam caught in the middle." Philip folded his newspaper and placed it beside him. "He is not caught in the middle, Helena. He walks into the middle every time he refuses to speak. That is his wife. And you are his mother. I will not make him choose." "I did not say make him choose," I said. "Stop helping him avoid honesty." I was not ready to hear that, so I did what had always kept the surface calm. I pulled back. I stopped offering advice. I stopped asking for extra time. I waited for invitations. I checked every gift. I rewrote messages before sending them and sometimes deleted them altogether. I told myself I was respecting boundaries. The truth was less flattering. I was becoming afraid of my own affection. The breaking point began with a beach house. Philip and I rented it for 1 week in August. It had 4 bedrooms, a screened porch, and a narrow path through the dunes to the water. We invited Liam, Chloe, and Lily for 4 days. Chloe agreed, but only after asking for photographs of the bedrooms, the distance from the nearest urgent care clinic, and the brand of cleaning products used by the rental company. I answered every question. I bought a portable crib so they would not have to pack one. I ordered the sunscreen Chloe used. I filled 1 refrigerator shelf with the yogurt, fruit, oat milk, and snacks Lily was allowed to eat. Philip watched me label containers in the kitchen. You know, there are grocery stores near the beach, he said. I want them to relax. You want Chloe to have nothing to criticize. That would help everyone relax. He leaned against the counter. You are trying so hard not to become Vera that you are allowing yourself to become furniture. I put another label on a container. Furniture does not argue. Furniture also does not get invited because people love it. 2 days before the trip, Liam called. His voice carried that careful softness he used when he wanted me to absorb bad news without making him feel responsible for delivering it. We are not going to make it, Mom. I looked at the row of groceries on my counter. Is Lily sick? Everyone is fine? Then what happened? Chloe has been thinking about it, and she feels the trip is a little performative. I waited for him to explain the word. He did not. Performative how? She thinks there is pressure for us to act like one big, happy family when things have been tense. You accepted the invitation 3 weeks ago. We did. You let me buy a crib. I told you not to go overboard. You asked me what kind she preferred. He did not answer. I could hear Lily laughing somewhere behind him. Then Chloe said something I could not make out. Liam lowered his voice. She is also worried the salt water might irritate Lily's skin. That excuse ended something in me. Not my love for them. Not even my hope. It ended my willingness to pretend that humiliation became kindness when delivered quietly. I bought the food she approves, I said. I bought the crib she approved. I bought the sunscreen she approved. I have spent 5 years studying your wife's comfort as though there would be an examination at the end. And every time I think I have passed, she changes the questions. Mom, I am not finished. He stopped speaking. I was your mother before I became a problem for your marriage. I was Lily's grandmother before I became an appointment on a calendar. I have apologized for arriving, for speaking, for remembering, and sometimes for loving your daughter in a way your wife did not personally design. I will not keep auditioning for a place in a family I helped build. Liam released a weary breath. This is exactly why Chloe feels pressured. I almost laughed. Of course it is. My hurt is always proof of her discomfort. Her discomfort is always proof of my wrongdoing. And you stand between Chloe and me, translating until neither woman recognizes what the other actually said. I am trying to keep the peace. No, Liam, you are trying to keep yourself comfortable. The line went quiet. I looked through the window above my sink. Philip was in the yard sanding a cedar bench. Fine dust gathered on his sleeves while he worked. Go on your trip, Liam said finally. We will make it up to you. Do not promise me another day because you do not want to answer for this one. I ended the call. Philip and I went to the beach alone. The house was beautiful. The ocean was calm. Every evening, the sky turned pink over the dunes, and for the first 2 days, I noticed only what was missing. The empty crib, the child-sized cup beside the sink, the small shovel I had placed near the back door. On the 3rd morning, Philip carried 2 cups of coffee onto the porch. What are you going to do? He asked. I do not know. You know what you are going to stop doing. I looked at him. He nodded toward my phone, which had remained silent on the table. You are going to stop chasing people who already know where you live. I turned the phone face down. For the rest of that week, I did not send photographs. I did not ask Liam whether Lily missed us. I did not soften my words into an apology for being disappointed. When we returned home, the portable crib remained boxed in the garage. 1 week later, Chloe brought me her list. They arrived on a Tuesday morning without calling. The irony would have been funny if Liam had not looked so miserable. Chloe kept her coat on when she entered. She walked directly into my kitchen, the room where we had once baked Christmas cookies during her first holiday with us. Back then, she had smeared flour across Liam's cheek and laughed when he tried to kiss her with powdered sugar on his mouth. Now she stood beside the same counter, holding a folded sheet of paper. "We need to clear the air," she said. Philip was in his workshop behind the house. I was alone with them. "All right," I answered. "Liam and I have discussed the pattern of conflict in this relationship. We have created a set of non-negotiable boundaries so everyone understands what is expected." She unfolded the page. I looked at Liam. "Did you help write this?" His eyes moved toward Chloe. We both agreed that structure would help. That was not an answer. "But I filed it away," Chloe began reading. "All visits would be scheduled at least 2 weeks in advance through a shared calendar. I would not offer advice about parenting, food, finances, education, or their marriage unless directly asked. Every gift for Lily would be submitted for approval. I would follow all household rules and use only language they considered affirming. I would stop bringing up traditions they had chosen not to continue, because doing so created emotional pressure. All communication concerning Lily would pass through Liam. I would not share photographs of Lily or stories about Liam's childhood without written permission. I would acknowledge that financial assistance given in the past did not entitle me to access, gratitude, or influence. That sentence was designed to wound me. It succeeded. I had never asked for repayment. I had never mentioned the wedding money. I had never used a gift to purchase time with Lily. But Chloe had gathered every kindness I had offered and arranged them into evidence against me. Then she reached number 9. "You will respect my position as the matriarch of my family. My decisions regarding Liam and Lily are final." I looked at my son. He studied the floor. "And number 10, Chloe continued, "your acceptance of these terms is mandatory. They are not open for discussion." She placed the paper on the counter. The refrigerator hummed behind her. Somewhere outside, Philip's saw stopped running. Chloe waited for me to defend every meal, every gift, every phone call, every dollar. I did not. "No, thank you," her lips parted. "What?" I said. "No, thank you. These are not optional. They are optional for me. You cannot reject our boundaries. I can reject commands delivered in my home." Her face sharpened. "This is exactly the defensiveness we are talking about." I touched the edge of the paper, but I did not pick it up. Some items on this list are reasonable. You decide what happens in your home. You decide what your child eats, what photographs are shared, and when visitors are welcome. I have respected those decisions even when the way you delivered them hurt me. Then what is the problem? The problem is that a boundary tells me what you will do to protect your peace. A command tells me what I must do to earn a place at your table. You have every right to govern your home. You do not have the right to enter mine and hand me terms for surrender. Chloe gave a short, humorless laugh. You always make yourself the victim. I made myself silent. There is a difference. I looked at Liam. And you need to hear me now. His head lifted. You carried every complaint from Chloe to me and every hurt from me back to Chloe, but you never carried the whole truth in either direction. You told me to visit when your wife wanted privacy. You asked me to fix wedding problems, and then allowed her to believe I had inserted myself. You let me prepare an entire vacation while knowing she was still deciding whether my love was performative. Liam took a step toward me. One hand half raised. Mom, I was trying to avoid being uncomfortable. His hand dropped. The defense in his face gave way to something more exposed. You did not protect your marriage by making your mother absorb every conflict. You did not protect me by whispering that Chloe was stressed. You built a hallway between two women and spent 5 years running through it with different messages in each hand. Then you stood back and called yourself trapped. Chloe turned toward him. What does she mean? You told her to visit. Liam opened his mouth, but nothing came out. That silence answered her. I pushed the paper toward Chloe. I will not sign this. I will not argue over it. And I will not continue a relationship in which access to my son and granddaughter depends on my willingness to be spoken to without respect. So you are choosing pride over Lily? Chloe asked. No, I am refusing to let Lily become the price attached to my obedience. You are unbelievable. No, Chloe, I have simply become inconvenient. I kept my voice level. When you are ready to speak directly, I will listen. When Liam is ready to answer for his part, I will listen to him too, but I will not accept a document that gives everyone in this family a voice except me. Chloe snatched the paper from the counter. Come on, Liam. He did not move immediately. She looked at him. Liam! He followed her to the door. Before leaving, he turned back. I did not rescue him with a smile. The front door closed quietly. Somehow that was harder than a slam. Philip entered from the hallway a minute later. Sawdust clung to one shoulder. I heard enough, he said. I may have ended everything. He took my hand and turned it palm up. A crescent from my thumbnail had pressed into the skin. No, he said gently. You ended an arrangement. Now we find out whether there is a relationship underneath it. For the next 9 days we heard nothing. I counted at first. Then I became angry with myself for counting. Every morning I carried my coffee past the framed photograph of Lily on the bookshelf. In it, she was 18 months old, asleep against Philip's shoulder, with one fist tangled in his shirt. I did not put the photograph away. I also did not call. That was the most difficult part. Not the confrontation, not Chloe's expression. Not even Liam walking out. The difficult part was allowing grown people to feel the full weight of choices I had always rushed to cushion. 10 days into the silence, Liam sent a message. Our daycare is closed tomorrow. Can you watch Lily from 8 until 5? I had a dental appointment at 10 and lunch, scheduled with an old friend afterward. In the past, I would have canceled both before finishing the message. I typed carefully. I am not available tomorrow. I hope you find someone. 3 dots appeared. Disappeared. Appeared again, he replied. With one word. Okay, that was the only contact we had. For another 13 days, there were no calls, no visits, and no attempt to discuss what had happened in my kitchen. The vindication I had imagined in my angriest moments was not about seeing Chloe frightened or Liam punished. I simply wanted them to understand that my reliability had always been a gift, not a service they were entitled to receive whenever they needed it. On the 23rd day, Liam came alone. Philip answered the door and led him into the living room. Our son looked tired, not dramatic, not broken, simply tired in the ordinary way people look when avoidance has finally become more work than honesty. I need to tell you the truth, he said. I sat across from him. That would be a good place to start, he rubbed his hands together. I typed the list. I had suspected it. Hearing him admit, it still hurt. Chloe made notes, but I put it together. I told her it would help us be clear. Why? Because every conversation about you became an argument. So you turned the argument into a document. I thought if everything was written down, nobody could say they misunderstood. Did you understand it? He looked at me. I understood that Chloe felt judged by you. Did you ask me whether I was judging her? I did not. Did you tell her that you asked me to solve most of the wedding problems? No, I did not. Did you tell her you invited me after Lily came home? His gaze dropped. I never told her. Then the document did not clarify anything. It preserved the version that required the least courage from you. Philip remained near the window. Silent, Liam swallowed. Chloe grew up with a mother who attached conditions to everything: money. Gifts help. If her mother paid for something, she brought it up for years. Chloe sees favors differently than you do. I did not know that. You could not have. I never told you. Why did you never tell me? I thought it was private. But you allowed me to keep offering the very thing that frightened her. He nodded. And you allowed her to believe I expected payment. Another nod. I leaned back. Liam, you were not caught between us. You constructed the middle because it kept both women from asking enough of you. You told Chloe I meant well, so she would calm down. You told me Chloe was stressed, so I would forgive her. Then you returned to your house and left us each holding a softened version of the other person's pain. Tears gathered in his eyes, but he did not look away. I understand that now. Do you? Yes. Chloe asked me after we left whether I had invited you that first day. I told her the truth. Then she asked about the florist, the dress, the beach house. We argued for 2 days. I am sorry you argued. I am not. We should have argued years ago. That was the first adult thing he had said about the situation. What happens now? He asked. I considered my answer. I want a relationship with you. I want one with Chloe. I want to know Lily as she grows, but I will not buy peace with silence anymore. He nodded. I can follow reasonable rules for your child. I will schedule visits. I will not post photographs. I will ask before bringing gifts. But Chloe must speak to me directly, and I must be allowed to answer without losing Lily as punishment. That is fair. And you will stop carrying messages. I will. No, Liam. Do not promise because you are sitting in front of me and want this moment to end. Decide whether you are willing to become uncomfortable in your own marriage. He took a long breath. I am willing. A week later, Chloe called. Not Liam, Chloe. Could I come over? She asked. Yes. She arrived on Saturday afternoon. This time, she removed her coat. I noticed that small detail. She sat at my kitchen table where the list had been placed 4 weeks earlier. For several moments, neither of us spoke. Finally, Chloe folded her hands. I am sorry for bringing that document into your home and telling you it was mandatory. I was also wrong to make time with Lily sound conditional on your agreement. It was not a perfect apology. It was specific, which mattered more. Thank you, I said. She looked surprised that I did not make it easier for her by immediately saying everything was fine. I still believe we need boundaries, she continued. So do I. I do not want Lily's pictures online. I agree. I need advance notice before visits. That is reasonable. And I do not want parenting advice every time I make a choice differently than you did. I can respect that. I also need you to stop treating every memory I share as advice. She looked down at the table. That is fair. I poured tea for both of us. Liam told me about your mother, I said. Her fingers tightened around the cup. He should not have told you. He told me because it explains something I needed to understand. It does not excuse the way you treated me. You are right. She stared into the tea. When you paid for things, I kept waiting for the invoice. There was no invoice. I know that now, but every time you solved something before I asked, I felt like you were proving Liam needed you more than he needed me. I let the words settle before answering. I was not trying to prove that. I believe you, but I can see how I made myself indispensable and called it support. I should have asked you directly, instead of responding to every request Liam brought me. I should not have ordered those desserts, and I should have confirmed before visiting after Lily was born. Chloe nodded. You apologized for the visit. I never really accepted it. No, you saved it. Her eyes met mine. Yes, she said quietly. I saved every mistake because it made my anger feel safer. That was the first moment I saw the woman beneath the posture. Not a tyrant, not a daughter I had failed to gain, a frightened woman who had tried to control every entrance because she had learned that gifts sometimes came with traps. Understanding her did not erase what she had done. It made a different future possible. I do not need to be the matriarch of your home, I told her. I already have a home. A faint smile touched her face. That line sounded worse when I heard myself read it aloud. It sounded worse from my side of the counter. She gave a small laugh. So did I. We did not hug. We did not promise to become best friends. We made 3 agreements. We would speak directly. We would ask instead of assume. and Lily would never be used to reward agreement or punish conflict. It was less dramatic than reconciliation usually looks in stories. It was also more honest. 6 months later, Chloe sent me a message on a Thursday evening. Lily wants balloons for her 4th birthday. Mylar, not latex. Would you like to come early and help me put them up? I read it twice. Then I carried the phone to Philip. He adjusted his glasses and smiled. Do not buy the entire store. I was thinking 12. By 8, we will compromise at 10. On the morning of Lily's birthday, I arrived at 9. I had confirmed the time the day before. Chloe opened the door wearing old jeans and a t-shirt. Rolls of ribbon covered the dining table. 10 balloons floated near the ceiling, silver and blue and one bright red. I could not get that one to stay low, she said, pointing to the red balloon. Liam was the same way at 4, always climbing. She glanced at me. For a moment, the old caution passed between us. Then she smiled. Tell me later. I want to hear it. We tied balloons to the backs of chairs. We arranged fruit, sandwiches, and a cake that contained real sugar. Not too much. Chloe informed me. Enough, I decided privately. When Lily ran into the room, she stopped so suddenly that Liam nearly walked into her. Balloons! She shouted. She turned in a circle beneath them, laughing as the ribbons brushed her hair. Chloe watched her daughter. Then she looked at me. I did not say. I told you so. I did not need to. Later, after the guests left, Lily climbed onto my lap carrying a worn book. Good night, Moon. The corners were bent. A small piece of tape held the spine together. She asks for it every night, Chloe said from the doorway. Liam still rushes the last page. He always did. Liam raised both hands. I am standing right here. That has never prevented us from discussing you, Chloe said. The 3 of us laughed. I opened the book. Lily pointed to the red balloon on the page, then toward the one floating above the dining table. Look, Grandma, they match. I followed her finger and smiled. They do, sweetheart. As I began to read, I thought about the list that had once rested on my kitchen counter. For a long time, I believed keeping a family together meant absorbing every sharp word before it reached anyone else. I thought peace was the absence of argument. I thought love proved itself by staying available, agreeable, and quiet. I was wrong. Peace without truth is only silence with good manners. Love without boundaries becomes resentment wearing an apron, carrying food no one asked for, and insisting it is fine when no one says thank you. I did not shut down my daughter-in-law that day. I shut down the version of myself that believed respect could be earned through endless surrender. Chloe and I did not become mother and daughter. We became something harder and healthier, 2 women who stopped fighting over the same man's loyalty and began taking responsibility for our own voices. Liam changed too. Slowly, imperfectly, he learned to say what he meant in the room where it mattered, instead of carrying softened messages down the hall. Sometimes Chloe disagreed with him. Sometimes I did. He survived both, and Lily never knew that. For a while, the adults who loved her had nearly turned that love into a rope and pulled from opposite ends. All she knew was that Grandma came when she said she would. Her mother asked instead of ordered. Her father spoke instead of hiding. And on her 4th birthday, the house was filled with balloons. Not because I had won, not because Chloe had lost, but because we had finally understood that love was never supposed to be a contest. Thank you for listening to my story. Now I would love to hear from you. Was I right to reject the list, or should I have accepted the reasonable rules and ignored the disrespectful ones? Have you ever dealt with a family member who called control a boundary? Or have you ever realized that your own fear was making you too controlling? Share your thoughts in the comments. Your experience may be exactly what someone else needs to read today. And if this story touched your heart, please like the video, subscribe to Cora Stories, and join us for more stories about family, sacrifice, forgiveness, and the choices that change us forever. And before you go, there is another powerful family story waiting for you on the screen. Click on it and I will meet you there.
Thank you for spending this time with Cora Stories Live. Wherever you listened from tonight, whether near or far, in the morning light, in the quiet afternoon, or deep into the stillness of night, I'm grateful you were here. Your support means more than words can say. Until the next story, rest well, stay strong, and keep believing in second chances. Good night.